Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben Reeve and co-host joining me tonight is Mr. Paul James, and we're here to answer some big questions on our third of the summer series, or whatever we're calling it. I don't think we've got a name
Leading
yet.
with a big one, like how bad do our shirts smell after 3 weeks?
Oh, three weeks, 3 days. If you were watching at the end of the last episode, we are recording these back to back. So, but yeah, it's probably time for a change of shirt, Paul. Maybe for the next episode, we might go something a little bit different. Bring back the navy blue and the hoops again. Paul, let's get it going. Will Kardinia Park host a crowd with the promised 40,000 capacity? Is it going to happen? Can it handle 40,000?
I mean, is it being advertised to hold 40,000? Because if so, then yes.
It is.
Then
no, I don't believe it though.
There is not for a second any doubt in my mind that whatever the capacity is, they won't max it out. So if the stadium is 40,000, then it will take 40,000 people will show up to a game.
Pish posh. I reckon they'll get 35 at 36 at the absolute most. I don't care. They'll be the tickets are all sold. You can't get a ticket. You know whatever. But no, where's the 5,000 extra people? Where are they? They're not. They're clearly not.
Just cram them into the standing room. They'll fit them in.
Haven't turned up for the president's lunch. They're not in the Peroni lounge. Or where are they? Come on, fill up the aisles. Put them on the roof like the old days. Sit them around the boundary line. We've got to get them in there. We've got to fill up this crowd. I reckon 40,000 is doable, but I don't want them to tell me 40,000 and it's not. We spent a lot of money on this place.
Next question, surely Paul. That first game against St Kilda. Surely that first game against St Kilda.
If you don't get to that, if you can get to that game, if you can A, afford it, and B, get a ticket, and your family life and whatever other commitments you've got, if it allows you to get there, please get to the game. Please get there and absolutely let the Saints fans. Well, I think we'll probably get about 300 in there, but for those ones that are there, somehow got a ticket, let's let them know all about it. Let's let them know all about it, mate. Max Holmes, is he going to reach elite status in 2024? Is he ready? Is the man ready to go?
He's
yet.
Not. Not quite. Also, I guess you've put the disclaimer in. So it wasn't actually in the description as per you sent it when it didn't actually say 2024. It just said reach elite status.
No, that's
so my thing was not in 2024, but he's closing in. He'll be closing in this year. I think we'll start to see, especially towards the tail end of the season, all the stuff that Danger and the rest of the folks at the club have been saying will start to become more obvious as the back end of the season starts to play out and he starts to rip the guts out of a few teams and blow a couple teams away. People start to go, oh God, this is kind of the makings of him. And then 2025, he comes along and he's just what we all kind of hope and dream he'll be.
So Brownlow medal, 2026, he'll be the cover athlete on the AFL 2026 game from Big Ant Studios. That's what it is.
Probably a bit of a curse, right, to have anything to do with that game. Didn't work for track or Darcy.
Didn't work for track. Or Darcy. No good. Toby Conway, developing ruckman at the Catters, played one game, the last game of last year. Is he ready? Well, will he be ready to take over number one duties at Geelong by the end of 2024?
By the end, yes.
Yep. Farewell, Reece Stanley, the end of 2024?
No, not farewell, but yes, okay. Toby to kind of step in. I think it'll be it'll be handy to have Reece there for at least another year, like at least 2025 as well. If Toby gets through kind of largely unscathed health-wise, which has been a concern for him up to this point, then I think it'll be handy to still have Reece there to give him a bit of a chop out, to help look after his body, to even just help develop the craft a little bit, because otherwise, it's Mitch Edwards. Edwards. And
must be trade for someone.
And that's I think we need that experience there. So, Reece will kick on for at least 2025, but I think Toby will be the number one ruckman at that point, and then it's kind of Reece maybe able to be a bit more versatile in his last couple of years. He could be playing the Matt Richardson sort of role, where he just goes wherever he wants for a little bit at the end.
Give him a free license, you reckon? Give him the Jezza license.
I mean, can you imagine? Like the guy can run. The guy is tall. The guy is strong, and if he just floats forward when he wants, he does it. If he goes to fill out in defence, he can do it.
I could see that going pairs. Where's Reece?
Well, he's not.
He's wandered off and he's just left us exposed.
A license with constraints. A license with constraints.
Just no. The only license I'm not giving him is a 20-meter sideways kick, because he does not pull them off. So Reece, just go long and strong down the guts. That's all you need to do, mate.
Just run. Take off. Run. Kick it.
Here's a man that you love. and I almost know what the answer you're going to give me straight away. Tom Hawkins, can he continue to dominate the AFL this year?
Why would he not? Why?
Yeah, okay, I agree.
Got to
catch up with him at some point.
He basically the first 3 to 4 weeks were pretty well compromised still from his foot, and he got off to a very slow start, and then proceeded to kick about 50 goals from that point onwards. Like, he was at Coleman sort of pace, really, from kind of the post-affliction stage onwards. So post-affliction sounds awful, but like, once he'd made his full recovery finally from not having a preseason at the end of the day, he was off the races with a few big bags against your highly touted Essendon of this year.
Every round should be country round. You know that. So
just tell
Tommy, mate, Tommy, it's country round again, mate. Off we go.
15 in 2 weeks. 15 in 2 games he kicked.
He's flying, wasn't he? I think we'll see Tommy do reasonably well this year. I think you're probably going to see him fall down the goal kickers table a little bit, just a little bit.
That's fine.
But I think that might be enough for him to pull stumps at the end of this coming season. I don't think he's going to go beyond that. I could be wrong. I feel the same about Reece Stanley, actually, to your previous comment about Reece. I think we'll see a couple of retirees, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 at the end of this year. I think we're going to have to start. I did do something about that on socials a while back. My projections of who we're going to be retiring and when over the next 4 or 5 years. But I think Tom and probably Reece might be 2. But I can see Tom being very, very competitive in the first half of the year. If things fall off, the wheels fall off a little bit, it's going to be tough. He'll play every week if he's fit.
I've just double checked the stats. Hawk kicked 50 goals from, I would argue, 5 fewer kind of and compromised games at the end of the day. I mean, he played a few fewer games as well because we obviously didn't play finals, which is kind of an extra variable in there. But also, probably got off to a 4 or 5 game handicap, I suppose. So he's really still, kicking goals at the same sort of rate as last year. I think if Jez is kind of up and firing at the same time, I think that actually really helps him because the attention, like when Jez was off the boil and missing for some games, the extra attention went to Hawk, who at that point is a bit older and is and was struggling for points of the season because of that slower start. So I could see him still kicking 40, and if he kicks 40, then I think he goes around from 2025.
Okay. All right. I'm not.
Part of that, I think, also is dependent on like who's kicking the door down. Like, are the big young boys doing what needs to be done to be able to justify putting up their hand in
Shannon Neal ready to go? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, those sorts of things. I think that's the other variable in the mix. So, and if they're not, and that kind of extends, I think, to a similar question or another question you've got coming up. But like, if people aren't putting up their hands, if they're not showing that they're ready, then why wouldn't you go with a guy who you can be really sure is then going to kick another 30 or 40 probably in 2025 as well? One to two a game feels pretty feasible for Hawk, even if he's past his peak, because he's just a man mountain and he's playing in a team that is strong.
I just don't want to keep Shannon Neal out of the side. I mean, Shannon's got to earn it clearly,
but again, that's the key. They've got to if they're earning it, then it's a different conversation. If they're there and they're ready, and we can see the signs, go for your life.
Still need to get 50. You got to get 50 games out of these bigs, don't you? But it's going to be hard. Hopefully they manage it pretty well. I think the club is run very well, so I'm confident that they'll do the right thing. And I don't know. I think the end will come quickly when it comes, whether it's this year or whether it's the following year. But I think it'll happen very quickly, and it'll be really sad. I hope Tommy goes out on top. That's all I really want for him. I'm not saying he needs to win another premiership. He's a champion of the game. He'll be forever remembered. Hey, Barkley.
It's been a while.
Co-host pet of the Hoop Show. Your dog. Not the number 1 pet, but the number 2 pet of the Hoop Show. So I reckon it'll come quick. All right. Do the older players? It's sort of a similar question, but do the older players in this team need to, when the time comes, do they need to take a step back and go into the VFL for a few weeks to give some games to the young guys? Are they going to be able to do that? Should they have to do that? Should we stick with them until the bitter end?
I think it's the exact same response. Like if the next generation is kicking the door down, then by all means. If Ollie Dempsey and Mitch Knevitt and Jai Clark and all those guys are starting to really show what we want from them, then don't get in their way. And that's where Mitch and it won't be Paddy because he's the captain, but I mean, it's not. I guess it's not unusual necessary for a captain to go VFL. We saw it with Jonas this year at Port, but yeah. I think if that next crop are coming through and delivering and kicking the door down, and they get that little opportunity because someone's out injured, and then they light it up, then you keep them in there. And when player X who was injured returns or is fit to go, maybe they don't get their game back, or maybe they come back and the older bloke falls out. I think that's all. Zach Tui fits in that mold perfectly. If our young defenders are starting to come through and he's solid but not superb, then the time has to come.
I'd love to see some games. Yeah, if the players have to make way for the younger guys coming through, I hope they go back to the VFL and don't just rest their bodies. I think there's something to be said for playing with some of the younger guys as well, and the younger guys learning from them in maybe a less pressure environment, not the MCG in front of 80,000 or something like that. Yeah. But I don't know. I hope that they do. I know other players in years gone by at Geelong have done that. Tim McGrath was one that I remember that comes to mind a fair bit. He played a year or two in the VFL really towards the end. I think it was maybe a year, but was quite happy to do that and really sort of relished in helping the young guys develop and all that. So it might come a time for some of these older guys. Hopefully they end on their terms, but it doesn't always go that way, sadly. Even if you are a premiership player and a much-loved Geelong player, it doesn't always go the way you want. Now, who will be the next Cat to debut? Our man Phoenix, I want him to get a game. I don't know if he's behind a few others at the moment, but who's next in the line to make a debut? Will it be round one?
Sean Manor.
Sean Manor. Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, Sean Manor.
I mean, the mature body, he's been there, he's done it. Not the AFL level yet, but like he's been in the system long enough. He understands the rigors and the physicality of the whole thing. He's already got, a little bit of that size just because of it as a result. Like he's had time to grow into his body a bit. So if he puts on a good preseason, I think he's the obvious one. You'd say O'Sullivan in a lot of cases, you go with your first round pick, but because he's a key position player, that might take a bit of time. Could be wrong, but I don't see him necessarily getting anything.
I'm going to say O'Sullivan because Kolodashny is always injured in the preseason, and we'll just nurse him.
He's one of the ones, to the point of your last question, he's one of the ones that creates the openings, and so maybe O'Sullivan does get a gig.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think they'll want to get a game into him pretty early. I don't think he's going to play 18 games or anything like that.
They just want to get the number 14 back on the field again.
Oh, imagine that. Imagine if we saw that in the St Kilda game round one. That'd be fantastic. Oh, my God. I'd love that. Absolutely love it.
Aaron Ray jumps the fence and tries to blow him in next week.
Oh, mate. Now, a player that from back in 2022 became an All-Australian, you would not have picked this. Tyson Stengle. Amazing season. Can he get back to those levels? A bit of a drop-off last year, but can he get back there? Is it possible for him? Or have we seen his peak?
No, absolutely. I think he'd get back to it. I think for him, obviously, fitness was a part of it, and he obviously got injured and was a bit hampered throughout the season, but also he didn't have the tall forward support around him in the way that it needed to be. Everything's devised around that two-prong key forward stuff with Hawke and Jeremy Cameron, and Hawke was hampered for a while, and Cameron was then hampered basically from the moment that Hawke was okay. So he never really had the pillars around him to set the ball up in the positions that he needed it to be in. So he wasn't able to kind of feed at their feet in the way that those sort of elite small forwards do. So you could see signs towards the back end of the season he was starting to find it again too, but it was a bit too late for us. So I don't see why not. If the tools are up and about and firing and he's fit, then I don't see why he wouldn't kick 2 goals a game again.
There's not many players out there like Charlie Cameron, for example. He's probably the closest thing I can think of, a smaller type that just gets his own ball. Well, it doesn't matter if the bigs aren't firing. Toby Green's another one potentially. Whether he can get to those levels of those absolute superstars in that sort of category, it's pretty. There's not many players like that, and it'll be a stretch. I think hopefully he makes the squad. I don't know. I just want him to have a better year than he did last year, and I hope you're right. Hopefully the structure, we get Hawkins and Jezza out there for 18 to 20 games this year. I think that'll really help his game. Hopefully he stays injury free as well. We'll see what happens with the other sort of mid forwards around your Ollies and your Gary Rowans and all that, how that sort of plays into the mix as well. Anyone else we're bringing through in that space. So I think that's a really interesting watch for me. for 2024 to see how that plays out and how the big three or the big 3.5 maybe now if you add Stengle to that. So we'll see how all that plays out next year. Now, what you picked, I think you picked Geelong to win the whole thing in the previous video, didn't you?
No.
No, you didn't.
Lions,
sorry.
Remember? No, I just said we were going to be the biggest riser.
That's right. What has to go right for Geelong? And maybe you've answered this in some other question, but what has to go right for Geelong to win it all, to be standing on that dais again? We probably should have been there on the dais in the AFLW, but umpires conspired against us in the AFL. Yeah. But anyway, what has to go? What has to go right for the men's team to go all the way?
It's injuries. The playing list is there. The game plan is right. The players are of the right caliber, and obviously they've proved that already. So we just need them to be able to stay out in the paddock. I think it's as simple as that. There's obviously something to be said for that next generation coming through at the same time. Your Jai Clarks and those sort of guys stepping in and maybe doing what Zach Tui, Mitch Duncan, whoever it happens to be, maybe can't anymore. And them coming through and making that impact. The natural growth that hopefully we see from an Ollie Henry or a Tanner Bruin or someone like that. But otherwise, I think the core is already there. The squad is right. It's just because it's old, there's variables in the mix there that maybe other teams don't have to quite contend with or be as anxious about, I guess. Sure. Every team has to contend with injuries, and there's obviously, there's soft tissue stuff, and, the older players are susceptible to that. But of course, anyone can get bowled over with an ACL or something like that. And those are the things you can't account for. We can't account for Jack Henry's foot, for example. We probably should now. No. It's been often enough, but
yeah.
You can't bank on ACLs and those big significant collision based things sometimes, or freak accidents. So if everything kind of goes right, we're not having those soft tissue injuries and we don't have any freak accidents, then why not? I don't say not any, but because even Danger had his soft tissues. Jeremy Cameron had a scare in the final games of 2022, but it was the management of everyone was so good, and we weren't having this gigantic influx of injuries that allowed us to manage.
Every week it was another medium term. It was another medium term every single week. I agree with what you've said. I think injuries, it has to go right with injuries. I think it's our probably last serious crack, even though it's probably not likely. I don't know. But if we can't get the injuries right, if we can't manage the players right, but in addition to that, I think we need someone to be a bit of a bolter, a bit like the Sam De Conning. Like, I can't believe this guy's played 17 games. He's 20 games. He's an absolute gun. Should be all Australian. I think we need someone.
Max Holmes,
like
is that what you're getting at? Max Holmes?
I think he's kind of someone else. Someone probably a bit younger than that. Maybe a Parfitt to just makes an absolute career resurgence. Someone who's just you're not expecting to like. I didn't expect Sam De Conning to be a star. I did not expect that. That was a gift. I did not think Joel Selwood, even though he was pick 7, was going to be amazing and hold his spot every week. I think you need something like a premiership team. Most years need someone like that. Think Dacos, second year, nearly wins a Brownlow. I think you just need that, and I think it really energizes the rest of the team. It's just a great feeling around the place. So I think that's what Geelong needs. It doesn't happen very often, but if we can get that, it's just the icing on the cake, the magic formula. I think that's what we need. All right. Your boy, we love talking about Mitch Knevitt. I've got a question for you about Mitch Knevitt. What's his best position?
Behind the play.
Behind the play. Get him on the behind the play. Mitch, if you're watching, if you know Mitch, if you're family of Mitch.
Phoenix. I bet you're watching. Phoenix Foster's always watching.
Phoenix, please get him on the show, mate. But no, Mitch Knevitt, what's his best position? I don't know if they've completely got it right yet, but where would you like to see him settled?
Popping on the wing.
Okay.
He can run. He's got height. He has iron like Dukes, as we learnt over the from the Geelong Adelaide game. He's a polished disposer of the ball. So, look, I don't know if I guess I'm basing that on the fact that because he's young, he's not been thrown right in the guts, or he's not been kind of committed to a more significant position, quote unquote significant, because I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone who has long, an Isaac Smith, for example, who's been long gun wingman. But I don't know if he's maybe been put there because it's still a little bit of discovery at the moment. It's a safe place for him to kind of develop his game. But what he's done from the wing has been exceptional. So maybe he can become that,
I like your thinking.
Solid, tall wingman.
No Isaac Smith anymore. Isaac Smith's not taking games off anyone. I think that's probably where you put him. And hopefully we get maybe 10 or 12 goals out of him for the year. That'd be nice as well. Floating forward. I think he's much better on that side of the ground. If he's going to be a wingman that sort of kicks a couple of goals, that'd be nice. Don't know if I feel confident with him down back, but yeah, I don't know. I got Max Wing on the other Max Holmes on the other side. I think the two of them. Yeah, I think that's probably where he's best at this stage. We'll see how his body develops over the journey and what his tank looks like and all that. But hopefully we can get hopefully we can get him to play most weeks this year. That'd be fantastic. I think that he's one of that crop from the recent drafts that I think we should really stick with and try and get 150 games into. I think
absolutely. I mean, he's got that nat. I mean, he's 193 centimeters, so he can play as like a key. I mean, we've just been talking about Nate Caddy through the draft. Essendon ultimately picked up as being that kind of small for a key forward, but of that height. Well, he's got that height, but he can run, he can kick, he can mark. I don't know. There's so much potential there if he can play off the wing and be, that Adam Goods sort of role. Now I know that's like, huge comparison, but like that sort of role where he's super versatile but can play off there and just dominate and be kind of impossible to match up on. That's such a blessing.
I completely agree.
Blitz did the same thing from there for a while.
Last question to round off the night, Paul. Will we see the return of Jesus Guthrie? Is the hair coming back? Are we going to get all the follicles returning? Return of the follicle. If he wants
to play good football, then absolutely.
Bring back the hair. You have to. And will we
it's
see?
Will we see?
Are we going to see full facial beard for big baby Guthrie? Does he have it in him?
Oh, baby Guthrie.
A little tough.
Look, he's finally got some muscles, but I don't think puberty's quite hit him hard enough yet.
I'll take another one.
For facial fungus, but.
Are we getting a tattoo sleeve from Zach Guthrie at some point?
Never, absolutely not. I think he's the cleanest of clean skins. I don't look. He might have one for the premiership because it's not an uncommon thing for premiership players to do. But beyond that, he's a clean skin. He might have the little cat on the ankle or something like that after winning a flag, but that is it.
If you think Zach Guthrie needs to get a tattoo sleeve, please like this video. And even if you don't think, like the video anyway. Paul, thank you. Thank you for the third episode. That was a fun chat. We try to keep these videos to about 15 minutes, but we fail every single time. But that's okay. So get used to probably another 20 to 25 minute video over the next few weeks. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone, for watching. As always, stay Geelong strong and go Cats, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.